Good evening everyone and welcome along to TTML. We are here for F1 action. It is Season 5, Round 7 of the Championship as we take on the Japanese Grand Prix from the Suzuka International Circuit. My name is James Head, going to be taking you to the stream as always on a Thursday night. Paco Suarez, no Tom Zaggers is alongside me in the commentary box tonight. So you've got me for an hour and a half, which is not too bad. And as you can probably tell, there's going to be no interviews as a result of me doing a solo commentary. And it's going to be one of those races that could be one of the craziest races you may see all season in any tier of TTML. But reminder of what actually happened last week in F1. It was Tom, of course, who took the win last time out in Belgium. Isotopic second and Frankie Froh on his debut in third position. Ran a very good race, I've got to say, there. And looking at the standings, it is quite tight at the top of the standings. It is Harry Banks who leads the way on 114 points, with Isotopic in second on 107, and Tom and Hazara in third are tied on 102 points. Jorg is in fifth on 86, with Perpetuum in sixth on 85, Simply Superman in seventh on 81, Noisy in eighth on 77, Break FN, the Brit in ninth on 74, and Chris in 10th on 47. Then it is Wedge in 11th on 42, Kazizel in 12th on 41, Tiago and Mashiro are tied for 13th on 32, Funky Chicken in 15th on 30, Volokongan in 16th on 23, Frankie Froh in 17th on 20, but still going, Benny and Fleddy tied for 18th on 10, and Tiona's in 20th position on 8 points. And that is the driver's standings. Of course, looking at the constructors as well. Again, quite close in terms of the constructors' standings. Red Bull currently lead the way on 188 points, with Aston Martin in second on 163, McLaren in third on 149, with Mercedes in fourth on 134, Alfa Romeo in fifth on 111, AlphaTauri in sixth on 102, with Alpine in seventh on 85, Ferrari in eighth on 61, Williams in ninth on 42, and then Nil Poir to Haas down in 10th position. Luckily, Volokongan is actually here tonight, so hopefully we will be getting some points on the board for Haas. Currently 13 drivers within the lobby. Again, I've got to be honest, very disappointing from an F1 standing point. Of course, Season 6 is just around the corner and attendances will be affected as a result of F1, and in fact all tiers will be looked at in terms of attendance leading in towards Season 6. So if you're not attending now, best thing to do, turn up every single week, week in, week out, attend, and then you won't get hassled by the admins, and you won't get a full-time seat. It's as simple as that. And you will be obviously put down as a reserve. Of course, I understand people have commitments and everything like that, but it is very disappointing. This is the second week in a row that we've had an attendance of this stature. Hopefully, it is not going to impact on the result. Britain as well was quite bad and poor in terms of the attendance. Please attend the races. 14 drivers now in. You may be complaining saying, yeah, there's 14 drivers here. It's not a full grid though. But around a track like Japan, it doesn't need to be a full grid because there will be some very entertaining action, of course, out on track. Hopefully we'll be getting started very soon indeed. As you can tell, task system has not been set up. I literally clicked on about 10 minutes before the start of the stream thinking, yeah, the task system needs to be set up. I couldn't manage it because the invites then came out from Mashiro, so I couldn't manage it in time. So there's no task system, so everyone's getting off scot-free, I think, this week at least. So I'll give you a freebie, but obviously the students will be looking in terms of any task system and things like that. But of course, leading into Suzuka, it is a 5.8 kilometre circuit, 3.6 miles, the only figure of 8 circuit as well on the F1 calendar. We recently came here, of course, in 2019, where Valtteri Bottas and indeed Mercedes have dominated the last 6 runnings in real life, with Hamilton, Rosberg and Bottas taking subsequent wins. Bottas, of course, won in 2019, the last visit to Japan, and has been a little bit of rumours circulating within the F1 community that Japan actually could be taken off the F1 calendar in replacement for Turkey or for Imola. And Imola apparently have signed a 5-year deal, if I'm not mistaken, to race in 2022 till 2027. So that is a fantastic deal if that is true. Might be an announcement coming very soon indeed. Might be tomorrow, might be later on next week. But obviously Imola is coming to the F1 game as well, so an absolute brilliant track to be had, of course, next week, along with the Sport Livery update. You might have seen Red Bull's recent update as well in terms of their livery, going back to the old David Coulthard days, I think, and Christian Clean days in the mid-2000s. Remember that? Yeah, the white livery looks very nice, I've got to say, on the Red Bull. And of course, AlphaTauri going for a more refined blue livery, which I think is very nice, and hopefully they'll look very good, of course, as they go out on track in Turkey this weekend. But we are going here for short qualifying, 50% race, of course, 18 minutes worth of qualifying, 50% race being, if I'm not mistaken, 27 laps around here in Japan. So hopefully some fantastic racing to be had, some fantastic qualifying to be had as well. And Kaziza literally putting in, what has happened to the grid? Has everyone got COVID? No, everyone has not got COVID. People can't be bothered to turn up, it seems, and that is frankly the bread and butter of it. And I have to say things frank as they are on stream. If you're not attending, yeah, you might have an excuse, but if you're not attending, you're not going to get a full-time seat next season, and that is the most disappointing thing, because easily this league could be one of the biggest on the F1 calendar, probably bigger than URL. Remember them? Yeah. Well, we'll see about that, but attendances do need to improve as we go on, especially towards the final couple of rounds in the season. We're only, I think, 3 weeks out from the end of the season after this week. And looking at the calendar, of course, we have got the US Grand Prix next week, it's Brazil, and then it's Abu Dhabi. As we go to wet Japan, nothing more, nothing less, I think, to expect in terms of the Japanese weather like they normally have. Intermediate conditions, of course, are the compound tyre out on track. Normally, it would be the softs, mediums, and the hards, which I think are the C3, C2, and C1 compound tyre around here, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong. Literally just came off that from the top of my head. But hopefully we'll be getting some really good action, of course, out on track. And I've actually managed to commentate around here in Japan on this game so far. And I did this on the PSGL and VRT Esports Cup qualifying night. And the qualifying times were being set were around 27s, 28, a little bit way off the pace compared to what we've had in the past. But I similarly think like this track is a bit like Austria. It doesn't really affect the transition from mediums to softs, obviously not in these conditions. Transition from mediums to softs are normally about 6 or 7 tenths around this track. Same with Austria, that's about 6 or 7 tenths. So really not a big margin to gain as per other tracks on the F1 calendar. Mashiwa, however, is the first man out on track, the Japanese man at his home track, of course, and he has won here before, I believe, in TTML F2 back in the day. Of course, that was his championship crowning season in TTML F2 a few seasons ago. Evans White coming through Deckler 2, and we'll see what Mashiwa, of course, can do out on track, and hopefully some really good action happening out on track as he comes now in towards the Dunlop hairpin at the top of the hill, and then on the run down towards Spoon Curve, of course. I will try and pick out the corner names as we go along. Menno in the comment section as well saying Nosy and your good luck. The Dutch support, of course, in absolute fine fettle and form as ever. Tom, by the way, of course, our championship leader is also out here tonight, and we have got the championship leader, Harry Banks, I should say, is the championship leader. Tom, of course, who won last time out. He is also here tonight, so this could be quite an interesting qualifying session, as now the Williams begins us onto a lap coming through 130R, and Mashi will be hoping for very, very good results, of course, here tonight. 14 drivers means a minimum of 6 points being picked up for the guys out on track, so if you are going to retire, don't. Simple as that. Finish a lap down and you will get points. Mashiro on the run towards the line then. DRS will be enabled, of course, when we get into dry running. I don't think we will in this qualifying session, but Mashiro now on a lap, reaching 190 mile an hour on the run down in towards turn number 1, and then through the right-hander of turn 2 as well. And now coming through in towards what I like to call the slithering snake section. All the centre racers, it's 3, 4, and then they come flying at you normally in the dry. A little bit pedestrian, I think, coming through the S section there from Mashivo through 5 and then through 6, and then through the Dunlop curve at turn 7, of course, famously where Gilles Bianchi had his horrific collision with the wall and obviously with the tractor as well. And sadly, that put paid to him as a person, really, and that was terrible. That incident, of course, he died about 10 months later. And of course, Jules, we are thinking about you and your friends and family. Mashivo on the run up in toward the Dunlop hairpin, however. And now coming through the hairpin, on the run down in towards Spoon Curve. And there are 2 layouts, actually, to this track. Right-hand side, MotoGP layout. The left-hand side, of course, is a natural Grand Prix layout. And that's what we're on here tonight as we now come through in towards Spoon. Spoon Curve, of course, a double left-hander. Now through the left of 14, and then through towards Machine a little bit way off the pace. We should be expecting lap times maybe in the 1:37 region is what I'm going to be thinking tonight. If it's anything like what it has been on the game, it's normally around a 9 or 10 second as Machine runs wide, coming through 1:30. I actually back off the throttle there. There was a spinner through sector 1. It's one of the Ferraris, might be because there's a little Frankie throw one of the two. So now Machine comes around the final couple of corners. Been a little bit slow, I think, from our liking, but Machine on the run toward the line. That's a 1:40.5 to start us off tonight. Jorg on an invalid lap. Kazizil is coming through the final couple of corners as well. Of course, Shazee doing very well on the PSGL and VRT Esports Cup event, and this is more like it from Kazizil. Right to the line at 38.2 puts him into pole position for now. Jorg, as I say, invalidated. Lazara also on a lap. Noisy also on a lap, and we'll actually ride on board with Noisy. There will be lap times, of course, being set. I think he's going to be the 6th man to come across the line to set up his lap. Harry Banks, by the way, has just gone quickest as well with the 1:38.1. So good lap there from Harry Banks, as actually Simply Superman goes quickest, 37.6, and he had a very good qualifying session actually in Austria just a couple of weeks ago. And Simply Superman has been doing very well, I've got to say. Noisy out of the final corner to the line, goes 6th position. But Simply Superman, the Irishman out on top at the minute, of course, formerly of TRT, Tom currently has got a lot to live up to, but that on the first lap, Simply Superman, I think, has gone hell for leather in terms of his lap. He's got no deployment really in terms of usage currently on this lap, but Simply Superman out on top. Isotopic, however, out on top with a 37.5, so we are getting in that range of what I saw, 37s, maybe 36s, maybe even a 35 in there as well. Hazara's gone up to 3rd as well, Volkongan into 4th with 38 flat. And again, red flag, yellow flag coming through the final sector. I think that was Frankie Fro, if I'm not mistaken. He's coming through towards the line now, 2:08.5. He's obviously had a spin on that lap. I think Jorg has clipped the wall, I believe, as well. I've said unplayed damage on the car. And actually, that's my eyesight going completely astray. So Jorg down in 14th, the only man not to set a lap time just yet. However, Simply Superman on the run into the final couple of corners, because this will now go 2nd, and Simply Superman actually 1.2 seconds off in terms of the middle sector. I don't think he's going to improve. Hazara's 900s up, Isotopic is 300s down, so we'll actually ride on board with Hazara's. Harry Banks has improved on a lap as well, 37.8. He goes into 5th position. Hazara, however, has just invalidated coming out of Spoon. He was looking quite quick up in towards Spoon, maybe a little bit too quick as Tom now goes into 5th position. Harry Banks there in 6th, and Harry Banks now will be hoping for a very good lap to put in. Volokongan apparently is purple through the first sector. He's a 10.5 up through the first sector, now in toward the middle sector split, and of course an 18-second final sector around here. 1200s up once again from Volokongan, so he'll be improving if he doesn't run wide, which he doesn't at 1:30 yards. So stopping out on top, Kazizil 2nd, Simply Superman in 3rd. 7 minutes gone in qualifying so far. So Stopic improves on his lap, and Volokongan gets all sketchy coming out the final corner on the run to the line. Good improvement in the end, a 10.5 nearly improvement from Volokongan, remains in position for now. A 37.9 is his current best. Break FN on lap as well, 10.5 up through the first sector. Noisy's 2 tenths up through the first sector. And Wedge comes across the line, and he does improve on his lap as Kazizil has spun, coming out of Spoon Curve, and I think we'll catch on board with Harry Banks as we are. And there he is, crashed just in the wall on the exit of the curb. And Kazizil will not be hoping, well, will be hoping that the rest of the field doesn't improve, as Kill has also been in the wards, and the Alpine now into the hairpin. He's got no front wing completely, he's entirely off the track, which is entirely legal, of course, and Kill now down in 4th position. Isotopic though out on top, Simply Superman there in 3rd, he's coming out on a fresh set of intermediate condition tyre. Of course, the Inters can dispose of 25 litres to 30 litres of water. Wets, of course, would dispose of 75 to 80 litres of water per second. And that is just per second, so you can imagine that over the course of a lap. The sun just trying to break through actually the clouds. Rain beginning to ease off slightly. So I'm not sure if we are going to get dry running towards the end of this session. If we do, then it'll be absolutely fantastic. Of course, if you are enjoying the stream, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell if you are new. The Red Bulls have gone 3rd and 4th as well. Harry Banks up to 3rd, Break FN down to 4th, and a good lap actually by both of them. And Break FN improved by 5 tenths on that lap. But Isotopic out on top, Kazizil 2nd, Harry Banks in 3rd. Hopefully, we are going to get some more lap time set in. Jorg and Noisy also on laps, and Noisy fighting the car coming out of turn 5. Now through turn 6, I think he's on now a 4th lap on these intermediate tyres. really struggling more as he fights the car at the Dunlop curve. Looks very unstable, almost like the suspension gave way there. But Noisy now coming through Deckner 1 and then in towards Deckner 2, the right-hander. And not looking too bad there from Noisy's perspective. Isotopic though out on top, halfway through qualifying if you are just tuning in now. Isotopic out on top, Kazizel second, Harry Banks in third position at this stage. In qualifying, Jorg is 500 up, however, coming through the first sector. Let's ride on board then with Jorg and see how he is getting on a lap. Kazizel, by the way, saying Britain flashbacks, I was 5/10 up. Well, Kazizel was 5/10 up and it would have put him at 37.1. But Harry Banks now goes quickest, 37.3, and I think Kazizel, slowly but surely, in this session, is going to wear himself down the positions, maybe even to borderline top 10. However, if it is going to be drawing the race, which I'm sure we'll be informed in the comment section, if it is going to be drawing the race, then it is going to be a very good, simple one-stop strategy, possibly from a set of softs onto a set of mediums. York now coming through in towards the final couple of corners. That's wide through 130R, now into the Casio Triangle. And through 16, through 17, and then through 18. Get the name of the Casio Triangle? Yeah, the point of the triangle, the top of the triangle, ends through this corner. Jorg across the line goes 10th, does improve. But look at how many drivers we've actually got separated by about 6/10 of a second. Harry Banks all the way down to Jorg, and then you've got Wedge and Mashima, we'll see, and Isotopic is now improved to 37 flat, so he goes quickest, and everyone getting multiple runs on these set of inters. Wedge, however, the Norwegian, coming through the final couple of corners, had a good outing last time out in Belgium, and a very changeable Belgian Grand Prix, and Wedge now running toward the line, almost as if his throttle input just went there slightly on the exit of the final corner. Not sure if it was more cautious than anything, or if it was just his throttle input. Maybe he's on a pedal that's a little bit dodgy, but Wedge went 11, 38.2, could have easily improved, but you can see, just following the throttle on the exit of the corners, this is what I'm talking about. On the exit of the corners, he's really just hesitant with the throttle, either because of just steadiness for the track and getting used to it at the minute, or there is a problem maybe with his setup, as Simply Superman has, Harry Banks I should say, has gone second with 37.3, so good lap there from Harry Banks. Yeah, he's got this and next lap invalidated as well. There's an Alpine round in the first sector, and that was Kill on a outlap. He's currently 6th with a 37.6. But of course, F2 and F3 are also live, by the way, if you do want to tune in for that. If you don't, you can tune in for F1, and apparently the stream is buffering slightly for F2. Looks fine to me, certainly from an F1's perspective. Nemo out on top, Colin Robb second, F1 AMG in third in that, F3 as well. Very poor in terms of attendance in F3, only 11 drivers there, really disappointing in terms of attendance. I think there's going to be maybe a few whips being unleashed towards the end of tonight. Isotopic out on top though, Harry Banks in second, Simply Superman in third, and we'll catch on board now with the Irishman. We'll see if he's on a lap, as Azara has now gone second with a 37.3, so good lap played by the AlphaTauri. Now Simply Superman coming in towards Spoon Curve at turns 13 and then through 14. Obviously where Vettel went Spinella back in 2018 after contact, of course, I think was with Max Verstappen or Daniel Ricciardo, one of the two Red Bulls back then. Simply Superman now coming in towards the final couple. Oh, he's run out of fuel. Simply Superman has run out of fuel, not going to get another lap in just yet. Tom, however, he's 2/10 up through the first sector, and we have seen from Tom, intermediate conditions, he really excelled in. Like last time in Belgium, he really excelled in the Mercedes, and possibly going for the championship lead as a result. Because of his strong performances so far this season, every race he's attended, he's pretty much turned to gold, and he's pretty much won. So Tom will be hoping, again, he can try and translate this into a very good vein of form. As now Tom through the middle sector is 6/10 up, coming through the middle sector, and I'm sorry to say, Isotopic, you are now in threat of being absolutely destroyed by Tom. As now comes into the Casio Triangle through 14, through 15, and then through 16. Looks like he's got a very low fuel run on, as now Tom runs the line, 36 of the nights. Yes, 36.9, he does improve, and it's nearly a 10th and a half, in fact, ahead of Isotopic. So Tom goes top, Isotopic in second, Hazara in third. I've got to say, Tom, on paper so far this season, has been an absolute class above the field, honestly. Really, really impressive. He's second in the championship, but he is there. He is there as a title contender, and Tom might be taking that championship lead, of course, coming in toward the end of tonight. Who knows what will happen, of course, the 27 laps of the Japanese Grand Prix. Tom low out on top. I stopping there on an outlap. Hazara back into the pit lane as well. Harvey Banks and Simply Superman also in the pits. Break FN, however, on a lap. Let's run on board with the Red Bull. It's going to come through in towards turn number 11. Then through the right-hander kink of turn 12. 180 degrees pretty much this right-hander kink through 12. As we see, I thought there was an improvement there from somebody, but there's not. Break FN now in towards Spoon Curve. Through 13, through 14, avoiding the curbs at all costs. I tried out a time trial lap in dry conditions, and honestly these curbs are absolutely deadly, and this is why I'm in the commentary box. In a nice warm commentary box, I've got to be honest, very warm here in the UK. And Break FN, who is British, now coming through 130. Oh, and he nearly runs wide, nearly actually spun the car as well on the curb. And very well to avoid with 3.5 minutes to go. Don't think we are going to get dry running toward the end of the session. Break really fighting the car too much, and he's nearly in the wall. And there might be a slight bit of rear wing damage there. He's going to try and get the car turned around on the West circuit, of course. Other Suzuka layouts are available, but Break FN now into the pit lane. And he's down there in 7th position. Let's run on board further down the field. Noisy is through the first sector. Frankie Fro is going slow through the middle sector, and that's probably why. I think he's lost his front wing, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, going very slow. I think he's made a mistake, has the Australian. Very good debut, I've got to say, last time out as well from Frankie Fro. Of course, getting 3rd position in Belgium in what was an absolute instant classic in F1. If you didn't tune in for that, go and watch it back, honestly, because it was one of those races where you couldn't take your eyes off it. Drivers on a set of soft compound tyre against a driver on a set of inters. Inevitably, it was wet. Inters prevailed in the end. Yellow flags in sector 1 and 3. Don't worry about that at all. Frankie Fro still on a lap. He's actually not improving on his lap. Right on board there with Mashiro, who's now coming through Spoon Curve. Really fighting the car. The Williams man, the Japanese man, currently down on a 39.2. However, this is looking like a much cleaner lap from Mashiro. This man now runs through the end of the middle sector, and it's 119.9, so he's 9/10 up. But is he going to improve ahead of Wedge, ahead of Noisy, ahead of Frankie Fro as a result? Trying on board with them then as we come now through the Casio Triangle, through 16, 17, then to the final corner of turn 18. Runners close the wall as possible. On the run to the line, and Mashiro does improve ahead of Wedge, Noisy and Frankie Fro. He goes into 11, 38.1, but has still got to bridge that gap between himself and Volokong, and it's about 0.3 per second, that gap currently between the Japanese man and the Norwegian. And I think that gap is going to be now a canyon between them both, to be honest, because Volokong is 0.2 up in this first sector. And even through the middle sector, he's 0.5 better off Volokong compared to Mashiro's middle sector. But he's only a 10th up because of his lap time so far. Now, through 16, through 17, and then through 18. Isotopic is also on a lap, and he's actually just gone quickest. 36.7. Volokongan goes 6th. Big improvement in that final sector. And Volokongan, 37.4. He goes into 6th position. There's only a minute to go in the session. Isotopic has got pole position currently. So that will be of course, a very good asset to have on his side. Harry Banks, however, responds 0.4 up through the middle sector, and let's see what the Red Bull man can do. He's got the Alpine of Kill just starting up on a lap ahead of him, so might just pick up the toe coming through the Casio Triangle. There's a McLaren round in the middle sector, and must be Wedge. Just now Harry Banks runs to the line. Is he going to defeat Isotopic's lap? No, he goes 3rd, 37 flat. Tom is on an out lap at the minute. He's coming through 130R. What's Simply Superman up to? He's just started up on a lap. Volokongan is a 10th up actually through the first sector. I'm just trying to ride on board as well and see who might be on a lap. Jorg is a 2/10 up nearly coming through the middle sector. And he's now 2.5 up coming through the middle sector. And Jorg has got to define this final sector. Very good indeed. Everyone now on their final laps. And Isotopic's out on top. Wedge back into the pits. Will not get another run in. So he'll be hoping that Noisy will not improve. Noisy has just improved. He's improved up to 5th as well. Jorg goes 7th. Isotopic has retired. Out on track coming through Spoon Curve. So he will not be improving out of the lead of the race. Tom, however, has just started up on a lap. Harry Banks is a 10th down. Hazara is coming through the first sector as well, or the middle sector I should say as well. Simply Superman, we're on board with him. Probably one of the next to come across the line, apart from the Haas of Volokongan, who's 3/10 up, so Volokongan could yet improve, and he's into the wall! And how on earth that is not damage for Volokongan, I do not know. He's obviously picked up damage, but how on earth that's his tyre not got off, I do not know. Simply Superman, 2/10 up however now. in the middle sector. Volakongan doesn't improve. He stays in 8th position. Simply Superman now. The next one to come across the line. Killer's behind him on a lap. It's now Simply Superman. Reaches the Casio Triangle, through 16, through 17, now through 18, running really adjacent to the pit wall as possible. Simply Superman now to the line, and he goes into 4th position. Good lap there from Simply Superman. Apologies by the black box on your screen. Kill goes up to 5th as well, and Harry Banks has gone quickest. So Harry Banks goes quickest. Tom has managed to spin it, coming through the hairpin. So Tom has ran through the hairpin and will not be improving. What was Noisy and Jorg doing? Noisy is invalid. Jorg might be the one to watch out for. The Dutchman is now. Tom has been disqualified from the session. Silly, if I've got to be honest. I think he was trying to go to correct himself, but now Jorg on a lap. He's nearly 2/10 up. Coming through the Casio Triangle, and we'll see what Jorg can do. I don't think he's going to go pole, but I think he might go 3rd with this. Jorg now running to the line. And he does not go 3rd, he goes 5th, and that is the end of qualifying. A dramatic end to that qualifying session. Harry Banks has nicked it from Isotopic. Isotopic had that long wait, but Harry Banks is out on top. And the championship leader takes the fight to Isotopic here tonight as Harry Banks is out on top by 0.09 of a second from Isotopic in 2nd, and a big chasm really to Simply Superman in 3rd. 0.4 of a second between Isotopic and Simply Superman in the end. The Irishman did well in 3rd. Kill the German in 4th with Jorg in 5th. Hazara in 6th. Noisy in 7th, Break FN in 8th, Volakongan in 9th. Kazizzle in the end, borderline, top 10. I did say he will not be obviously improving as a result of his spin earlier on, but 10th position, possibly on the cusp of getting done by Frankie Fro, Mashiro, Wedge and Tom, who are all going to be starting on different strategies. Kazizzle was actually in 11th before Tom got disqualified from the session, but Harry Banks takes the spoils. Isotopic in 2nd. Top 2 contenders in the championship standing so far. Harry Banks is on top. Tom disqualified from the session, starting right from the back of the field. As we now, of course, get going in towards the race, the formation that will begin very soon indeed. I'm just going to try and tune into the F1 Discord and see if there was anything said about some of the spins or whatever happened to Tom. Certainly out on track in terms of the disqualification. A little bit disappointing, as I say. 13, 14 drivers here tonight. And also F2 have also been having attendance problems, and it looks like 4 people are being removed from F2 as a result. And again, really disappointing in terms of attendance across all 3 tiers. We run this league, TTML, for your own benefit to try and get into the likes of F1 Esports, into the likes of the top leagues like PSGL and OneHub and AOR and the rest. Honestly, our service, I'm giving up my time, an hour and a half of my time, by myself commentating in the commentary box, for you not to come and attend a race where you could be sitting on FIFA, which I know some of you probably are, and listening to this. So, if you are one of those people, attend next week, for the sake of the league, and for the sake of me, and for the sake of everyone that is actually involved in this. However, rant over, formation lap has now begun, and, interesting to note, Break FN, down there in 8th position on that sort of soft compound tyre. Everyone else looks like they're going mediums to softs. How boring some of these guys are. But, of course, they did have free choice of tyre. They've decided, most of them, to go on for that set of medium compound tyre. But Break FN, probably going to be the one to watch out for. He's embroiled pretty much midway down the pack in this DRS train. And Break FN, if he gets through these guys, Noisy, Hazara, Jorg especially on the first lap, Break FN's got a really good chance possibly to try and do an overcut. As we see the predicted pit stop strategy come up lap 11 to 12 onto a set of mediums. Normally around this track it's somewhere from about lap 7, lap 8. These tyres will not last long, especially if they were worn. These drivers will be pitting in probably lap 5, lap 6, lap 7 onwards really. Break FN, however, and there's been a collision actually between Jorg and Hazara. That's going to be, well, not obviously investigated on the formation lap, but a little bit silly, if I've got to be honest, from both of them making contact. Looked like one of them was sideways on, so there might have been a little bit of desync involved, maybe, who knows. But Break FN, back to what I was saying, Break FN has got an absolute fantastic chance, if he was to try and get past Noisy, Hazara, Jorg. Of course, there might be contact down in towards turn 1 ahead. It might happen immediately, like Prost and Senna back in the day as well. but he'll be hoping to try and get out of this DRS train as soon as possible and to try and get some of these moves done. Everyone on a set of mediums will be going one stop, and they'll probably be going, I think, to around lap 19, maybe lap 18, lap 19 sort of region. You can't last over halfway here, as that's just a pit stop strategy that comes up randomly. Set of softs. I mean, these guys are in a set of mediums game. Come on. Set of softs. However, Harry Banks still out on top. Isotopic in second, Simply Superman in third, and now we wait for the lights to go out. Everyone now rejoining onto the grid, and because no co-commentator is here, I'm going to predict the top three, which is probably the worst thing I could do on a Thursday evening. I'm going to go Harry Banks for the win, I'm going to go Kazizzle for second, and I'm going to go Jorg in third position. Watch out for Tom as well, further down the field, and that's at a medium compound tyres. You will have pace early on, as now the 5 red lights go out in the gantry, here for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's round 7 of the championship. And it is, lights down, away we go, and Harry Banks gets a very good start. Kill got a very good start as well. Nicest topic will try and cut across to try and defend off Simply Superman running down in towards the turn one, but Harry Banks leads. Isotopic in second, Simply Superman in third. Everyone's clean through Break FN, already making moves. He's side by side with Jorg halfway down the field, now for 7th and 8th through the S section for the first time, and Jorg is still ahead of Break FN, because this is up in position as well. Past Volakongan, Frankie Fro is going side by side as well with Mashiro. Everyone clean through the S section, however, and it's Harry Banks who's storming ahead out in front. Isotopic in second, with Simply Superman in third. Still side by side go Jorg, and now Kazizzle actually goes side by side with Break FN, and Break FN hangs on through Degner 1 and then through Degner 2. There's a little bit of contact between Noisy and Hazara. Just saw that on the camera shot, but Hazara is round. Noisy ran into the back of him. I think there was a little bit of a lock-up as a result, and there's all sorts of carnage happening now down in towards the head, but it's nearly 3-1. It's Kazizzle is now suddenly up into 5th position. Jorg and Break must have had a little bit of contact as well to Break FN, now down into 7th. Jorg is now attacking Kazizzle on the inside line in towards Spoon Curve, nearly like Vettel and Verstappen, but Jorg hangs on 6th position because it's 11th, 7th. But look at how these guys are struggling so far out on track in terms of the curbs. But Harry Banks leads the way. Isotopic in second, Simply Superman in third. Jorg still on the back of Kazizzle. Right on the back of him, and now comes to the outside line, the Aston Martin against the Ferrari, and Volakongan getting his elbows out as well, trying to dive it down the inside line, I think, of Frankie Fro, and that didn't pay off at all. So Volakongan now down in 13th position. And Tom as well is already up into 10th position as well from the back of the grid. From that disqualification, he's making good inroads so far. Zara into the pit lane, 5 seconds speeding into the pit lane, and retires from the race. That is so disappointing to retire on lap 1. I know you had race ruin, but there's a minimum of 6 points available. Needless to say, I'm angry. Harry Banks leads the way though. Isotopic in second, Simply Superman in third, Kill in fourth, Kazizzle there in 5th position, and Jorg in 6th, and Jorg right on the back of Kazizzle as Volakongan has crashed in a little bit of contact maybe with Wedge, and Wedge has picked up a penalty, and there's a VSC. So VSC being deployed. Didn't catch what happened between them both. Volakongan looked like he was side by side with maybe Noisy ahead, and Noisy might have had a little bit of contact possibly with Volakongan, I don't know. Wedge, however, has came out really the bad beneficiary out of that 5-second penalty for him. Hazara's AI, by the way, has retired out on track as well. Harry Banks still leading the way from Isotopic in second, Simply Superman in third. We are under the VSC. On towards lap 3 we go. And hopefully it is going to be a good race from here on in. And hopefully we don't get any more needless retirements. Harry Banks leads the way. Isotopic in second, of course. These guys under that VSC has to stick to their delta time. They have to stick to their delta time. Nobody, of course, is going to come in the pit lane. They'll be very silly to do that. Break FN, however, on the back of Jorg underneath this VSC result. Looks like we're about to get going once again. Break right on the back of Jorg, and the safety car, the VSC is now pretty much ended, I think. Jorg in 6th, Break FN in 7th, still having to stick to their delta time, running halfway down the straight. Mashiro look very close to the back of Frankie Fro. Now we get DRS enabled. Could have easily been a move there for Break FM on the back of Jorg, but DRS now enabled. The first time in this race, of course, it wouldn't have been used up down that straight because we're only on that thing. The detection point is just before the start-finish line. Harry Banks, though, leads the way out in front. The Brit in front from the Norwegian of Isotopic in second. Simply Superman the Irishman in third, with Kill in fourth, the German. Kazizel already up to fifth. In terms of the position changes, Kazizel has gained the most positions. 5 positions gained. Tom has gained 4. He's also on the back now of Mashiro, so this could be looking like a juicy move down to the inside line, coming through the hairpin. Noisy right on the back of this as well. A bit of fightful car control there from Tom. Now uses up that ERS running down through Spoon Curve. Or in towards Spoon Curve, I should say, but doesn't get the move done. Mashiro just running right onto the curb slightly. Everyone not running over the curbs too much, which is good to see. Nobody has really spun apart from Volakongan and Wedge, maybe. A little bit of ghosting system failure, possibly, I don't know. Harry Banks still leading the way. Mashiro now on the back of Frankie Ford, the Australian, coming under attack from his fellow. I was gonna say something there, but I'm not going to. Mashiro, the Japanese man, on the back of the Australian. That's what I'm trying to say. And looks like it could be game on for Move here, as Frankie Fro now under pressure. Mashiro, of course, has got the run right on the back of Frankie Fro, but I don't think he's going to get the move done down in towards turn 1. Wedge just set the new fastest lap of the race. He's in clear air, so that's why he is set that new fastest lap of the race, 32.4. Wedge's pace has been good this season. Hopefully, that 5-second penalty will not come back to bite him. We might get a safety car, you never know, in this race. Harry Banks, though, leading the way. Isotopic in second. Simply Superman in third. Kazizel trying to get onto the back of Kill for P4. And Volakongan leaving the session. Kazizel very wide coming out of turn 4. And actually Kill's made a big blunder here as now Kazizel ranges up in towards the hairpin. Kill moves across and now Kazizel dodges down the inside line. No holds barred really down the inside line there, but Kazizel knew what he was doing, knew what he was thinking. Kill just came across him slightly. It was the camber of the corner, the nature of the corner really, that found him out, and Kazizel eventually got the move done down the inside line. Lovely move that, and a lovely work move as well. And Kazizel is through and he's into 4th position. Kill, however, will not back down without a fight. You can see him using his ERS, just a little point down the straight to try and gain within that second, and he is luckily within that second. He could actually be outside of a second of the York as well, so this could suit very well for the German. As now, the Brit comes under a lot of attack from through the Casio Triangle. A little bit aggressive from Kazizel through there, but Kill now on the back of Kazizel. And you're normally about 3.5 tenths down coming across the line to try and get some sort of a move. And Kill, I don't think, is going to be close enough this time around. You can see him just back it off now, down and towards turn 1. Doesn't want a bit of contact. However, if Kazizel does that more times than often, Kill is going to be through soon into P4. Kazizel looks like he's really struggling, if I've got to be honest, in terms of his setup out on track. Front 3, however, pulled away. Kill just got caught on the curb there. Just a little bit of over-rotation. And luckily stays in the race for now. Harry Banks still leading the way. 9 tenths per second. You can see the top 3 beginning to pull away. But Kazizel now beginning to get a move on us. 2.7 seconds. And now, because they haven't brought in a DRS train, Kazizel isn't. Kazizel can now try Kill, York, Break FN, who hasn't made any inroads so far on that. To the tops! As Kill has spun underneath himself. I'm not sure what happened there. And that just looked like an absolute momentary lapse of concentration. Did he get caught on the grass? The German, I do not know what happened there. Just saw the car spinning and, oh, I don't know, that looks like maybe suspension damage on the car. And Kill has managed to get back going again. He's down in 12th position. That's one of the weirdest moments I think I've ever seen coming through. And you can see his tyres are shot coming round through the Spoon Curve. Luckily to get round there as well. But the German nearly going around again, coming through the Exodus Spoon Curve. Maybe something wrong with the setup, who knows. Isotopic now, however, on the back of Harry Banks for the lead of the race. 7 tenths of a second separating. Harry Banks leading the way. Isotopic in second. Simply Superman in third. Kazizel in fourth. Break FN trying to get onto the back of York, dragging Frankie Fro, Mashiro and Tom along with him. All embroiled in the big DRS train. Trust me when I say this. Everyone is going to be involved in this DRS train, and the action is going to get better in the second half of the race. If it stays as it is, of course, we might have spins on the curves. Mashiro really pushing on the back of Frankie Fro, trying to get out of that slipstream as much as possible. The Australian doing well to keep off the back of Mashiro for now. However, Mashiro is on the back. There was a spin coming through the centre S's, and that is Kill, who was round. So Kill is through, Kill is round, I should say, and he's down in 12th position. So not going great guns for the Germans so far. Frankie Fro on the back of Break FN. And to be honest, if you were in Kill's position, I would honestly say maybe come in, for a fresh set of tyres, get towards the end of the race. He could make hards towards the end. He could obviously make mediums as well. He nearly spun coming through Sector 1 and then through Sector 2. Maybe in AI mode, I think. Kill, as now Tom is on the back of Mashiro. And Frankie Fun runs out wide on Brick FN as well, and this could be possibly one move or two moves, running down in towards 130 on Mashiro now, absolutely charging on the back of the Australian, and the Australian charging on the back of the Brit of Brick FN, and now looks to try and get the inside line in towards the Casio Triangle. Not quite close enough. Everyone stays as they are for now. Not close enough for the lead of the race either. Break FN is not close to the back of York, who's trying to desperately scamper away. And now Break is going to come under attack from the Australian behind. Here comes Frankie Fro on the back of Break. But with a third of the race gone, I don't think he's going to try and get this move done as Break FN gets caught on the inside curve of turn 1. Now through turn 2, Frankie Fro is through, and he's into 6th position, and it doesn't take too many opportunities for that to happen. Frankie Fro is through, and he's into 6th position. Mashiro on the back of Break FN as well. Break in 7th. Mashiro there in 8th, and Break looks like he's struggling now with that sort of soft compound of tyres as Kill has retired into the pit lane. And has obviously retired out on track, and actually it's a VSC, it's crashed somewhere out on track. The car's removed itself. Mashiro had right away in the corner, I think. I think Brick FN's probably thinking, yeah, you were side by side with me. I think Mashiro has got that one. So Mashiro's doing his into 7. It's a very, very good move there. Robin, by the way, is tuning in and saying, let's go Conti. Conti is in F2 or F3, I believe. He is not here in F1. And even if he was, you'd see it to the left-hand side of your screen. Sorry to put a dampener on things. Harry Banks still leading the way, Isotopic in 2nd, Simply Superman in 3rd. And again, second VSC of this race. Who does this benefit more than anyone? I think it benefits this man here, Kazizzle, in 4th position. Mashiro, however, on the back of Frankie Fro. Could benefit him, and actually Frankie Fro's on the back of Yorg as well. Now Mashiro, he's not going to lunge it around the outside line and towards 130R, is he? I don't think he is. Maybe into Casio Triangle. He's got the inside line now. He's going to have to try and risk it for a chocolate biscuit down the inside line. Room given by Frankie Fro. Fair play, I've got to say. Side by side into the Castle Triangle was very difficult, and Mashiro got found out there completely. That was clean racing. Frankie Fro just obviously forced him off track. It was clean. Tom now through, and Break FN through, and they've gained positions as a result as well. So Break now through and he's into 7. Tom through and he's into 8. Mashiro pushed off track down into 9th position. But side by side through an off-camber corner where you're going to be going right anyways, Mashiro tried to hang it around the outside line. Simply, he failed. And I'm going to leave it at that, because Mashiro, he could have just backed up that and retained the position in behind. Frankie Fro in 6th position, however. So that lunge onto the back of Yoga, I should say. Isotopic, however, on the back of Harry Banks for the lead of the race, and Harry Banks currently controlling the pairs out in front. He's looking quite strong at this stage of the race. The Brit, the Norwegian, of course, of Isotopic there in 2nd, and Simply Superman. He's been under the radar, I think, the last couple of weeks. He has driven solid races, Simply Superman, the Irishman, and it's showing. He's in that DRS train. He's pulling away from Kazizzle. What's not to like? You're in a possible scenario where you could be winning this race at this stage, certainly within the race. Harry Banks still leading. Isotopic in 2nd. Expect Break FM, by the way, to come into the pit lane very soon indeed. He's down in 7th position. We're right on board with him now, actually. And you would imagine he's going to be putting in onto lap 9 and 27, so a third of the way through now. Harry Banks does lead the way, but as close as he ever has been, Isotopic close up on the straight, down in towards turn 1, didn't get the move done. And remains in P2 for now, so the Norwegian will be hoping for a very good result. He'd be actually hoping that Harry Banks makes a mistake. However rare that is, Harry Banks will be trying to put Isotopic into a full centre. And actually, Harry Banks has just upped his game slightly through the first sector. He might be going for the fastest lap of the race, and he's already nearly a second away from Isotopic as Mashiro picked up a 3-second penalty. Looking further down the field as well, Break FN under pressure from the back of the Dutchman of Tom, our championship leader, of course. Sorry, Harry Banks, I should say, our championship leader. Tom in 2nd position. Mashiro, by the way, has let Noisy through, I think. So Mashiro now down into 10th, Noisy through, and he's into 9th. I think Mashiro might have made a slight mistake. Certainly struggling now in terms of his tyre wear. Tom on the back, though, of Break FN. Running now through, once again, the spoon curve. Tom just got caught out wide there. He's going to try and dip under, and it does give him time on the exit of the corner. But focus on the lead of the race. Harry Banks leading the way, but Isotopic, as close as he has been. Isotopic, if I've got to be honest, he shouldn't be doing that. Going into the Casio Triangle, he shouldn't be degrading the speed into the corner. He should be taking it out of the corner. But don't listen to me, listen to the fastest lap of the race that he's just set. 31.7. Break FM, by the way, is now into the pit lane. It seems like 17 laps and a set of medium compound tyres is on. There was a little bit of a gap there as Mashira was also retired into the pit lane. Obviously let Noisy through. Not sure what happened there with Mashira. Hopefully he's going to be staying in the race. But 4 DNFs. This is TTML F1. This is not TTML F5. Just remember that. Tom has gone for a slight spin as well. Coming through the S section, so the Mercedes is round in the gravel somewhere. He's off to the left-hand side. There he is. He's just popping up into camera space now. And he's spun again on the curb. Wedged to good. Avoided action there. And now Tom down in P9. And that has significant consequences in terms of his performance out on track. And also because he's down in second position in the championship as Break FN has now gone for spin on the curve. These curves are really catching people out tonight. Break FN has now gone for spin. Tom also went for a spin as well. And Mashiro's AI car is retiring out on track. 4 DNFs though. Again, TTML F1 this is the top tier of racing that we apparently have in TTML. Back to differ if you agree with me or not on that. Harry Banks leads the way. Isotopic in second. Simply Superman in third. The Norwegian on the back of the Brit. And again, Isotopic just degrades that speed away halfway through the corner. And it really, really doesn't give him the best exit of the corner. And that is why he's struggling to catch Harry Banks down the straight. If he was to degrade that speed into the exit of the corner, we see yellow flags once again, and that's Wedge now round coming through the exit of 130R and into the Casio Triangle, and Simply Superman is now round coming through turn 1 and 2. What is happening with these curbs out on track? Simply Superman now from third in the race, now down to 7th. Everyone is getting caught out tonight. It is beginning to look like more of a war of attrition. But now that leaves us with 2 real race contenders, to be honest. Harry Banks leading the way, Isotopic in second, and Kazizzle there in third. Kazizzle has struggled, I think, because Isotopic and Harry Banks and Simply Superman have all been embroiled in that DRS train out on track. And that is why Kazizzle is catching in the sectors where there are not DRS zones, i.e. second and third sector, and then he obviously loses time to the first sector down the straight, and that's where he loses time. He loses about half a second each time, and then gains that back over the course of a lap. So Kazizzle has got the pace. However, he's going to have to perform a mad overcut, I think, or undercut, I should say, to try and do this win. Harry Banks, however, leading the way. Lovely helicopter cameras we run on board. Isotopic on the back of Harry Banks. It's 0.8 of a second has become across the line to start lap 12 out of 27. Nearly through the halfway stage. This race is going a little bit quicker than expected. Zizzle in third, York there in fourth. Frankie Fro, the closest battle out on track, apart from the leading battle, which is really not a battle. Frankie Fro about 0.6 away, running down in towards turn 1. Now through turn 2. He's not close enough once again on the back of the detriment of York ahead. And there is York ahead in the Aston Martin. Getting caught wide coming through 3 and 4. Now through turns 5 and then 6. And actually Frankie Fro is in a bit of an Aston Martin sandwich at this stage, because Noisy is obviously in behind as well. Noisy will be helping to try and undercut these guys maybe later on in this race. As I said, about lap 17, lap 18. Probably the time to go in onto a set of soft compound tyre. Don't listen to me, they'll listen to the Jeffs that are out there, of course. There are more to life than just listening to a commentator who's lonesome, lonely, and completely deluded in the commentary box. Harry Banks leads the way. Isotopic in second. Isotopic just made a mistake there, coming through Spoon Curve. Gains Tom on the exit, but he made a mistake. He just dipped 2 wheels over, and that is what cost him about 0.3 of a second now, maybe. Isotopic is on the back of Harry Banks. He is up in the middle sector as well on his personal best so far. However, the Brit of Harry Banks doing a phenomenal job at this stage. Isotopic looks closer this time. Maybe beginning to listen to what I'm saying. Maybe he's got the commentary on in the background and he's listening to what I'm saying. degradate that speed away, not through the corner, but on the exit of the corner, and that is what will gain him right onto the back, as proven there by Harry Banks. And now 0.5 of a second for the lead of the race. Frankie Fro again, getting close to the back of Jorg. Noisy is stripped out of a second of DRS zone. Second out of the DRS, I should say. And Frankie Fro now is going to try and use that to his good effect. Through the S section, he looks quick. He's on the back of Jorg. 0.6 of a second. We have only got penalties, by the way, for Wedge at this stage. It's a 5-second penalty after being involved in the collision with Volakongan earlier on in this race. And people saying as well in the comment section, oh well, I don't know what people are saying there in the thingy. Mashiro saying, I'm really done with this game. Yeah. I mean, Harry Banks leads the way, Isotopic in second, because this will end third at this stage of the race. Remember, guys, there are still races going on. F1, F2, and F3, of course, tonight. But, again, real shame that the attendances have actually plagued, I think, tonight's racing. Because even though we've got 10 drivers, these guys are now getting a minimum of 10 points. I'd be absolutely lapping up if I was in this race and I was going for a minimum of 10 points. I'd be wanting to stick it out for 27 laps no matter how many spins and no matter how many moments I have out on track. Isotopic, however, will cut away from my rant. Isotopic, however, on the back of Harry Banks. And again, Harry just seems to get the exit out of the final corner through the Casio triangle. And Isotopic now on the back as we've got a yellow flag through the middle sector. And that is Tom through Spoon Curve, who was spun. He spun on the outside line. Luckily, no wing damage or anything like that. His tyres are completely shut. Let's break FN through. And now Tom down in 10th position. Really has not been his night. But for the championship, he's got to keep on going, because Harry Banks is maximising every single given opportunity tonight, and he's looked absolutely dominant in doing so. However, Isotopic is pressurising him, the Norwegian on the back of the Brit, for the lead of this race. And we'll cut to the battle of 4th and 5th position as well. Jorg and Frankie Fro. Tom now retires into the pit lane, a 5th retirement of tonight. It's beginning to get a joke, if I've got to be honest. Frankie Fro on the back of Jorg, however, the Australian on the back of the Dutchman. 0.7 of a second. Frankie Fro has looked quite strong. However, in terms of his ERS usage, you can see it on the bottom left of your screen. 12% for Frankie Fro. Jorg has got 50%. So Jorg has pretty much got 4 or 5 times more than what Frankie Fro currently has in terms of his ERS usage. And to be actually honest, it's 40%. 40% difference between Jorg and Frankie Fro. Yellow flag in sector 1 is Tom. And now Isotopic, however, on the back of Harry Banks, coming out of the final corner again, through the Casio triangle. Harry Banks just seems to dip under. That's why he gets such a good run coming out the final corner. Harry Banks just utilises the outside line to dip under where that bump was, of course, in the last game. He utilised that to great effect. It gains him 1/10 of a second every single time. And that's why Isotopic partly can't catch up, and partly because Harry Banks is looking like the quicker driver, I've got to say, at this stage currently in this race. Harry Banks still leading, Isotopic in second, because this is in third, Jorg in fourth, Frankie Fro in fifth, Noisy in sixth, Simply Superman in seventh, then Wedge in eighth, Brick FN in ninth. Mashiro, by the way, commenting that he had force feedback issues, so that is why he retired from the race. Totally understandable, of course, if there is no force feedback on a wheel, and that is so difficult. I can't say that, to be honest, because I don't drive on a wheel. I've got a lovely pad that I drive on every single race, but disappointing to say. He is one of the 5 DNFs, of course, out on track. These guys might have had similar reasons, or they might have had different reasons why they retired, but 5 retirements in a top tier division, not great. Not great at all. Harry Banks leads. Isotopic in second. Frankie Fro again on the back of Jorg. He's just using up a bit more ERS for my liking, 5%, and this is where he's beginning to degrade that speed away. And in fact, Noisy 1.9 seconds has kept that gap at an absolute minimum currently. Isotopic now needs to cut under, but there again, Harry Banks, he gains 0.5 just doing that. And it is an absolute exploit, I think, on this game. Japan has got an exploit, and it is literally outside line to in, coming through the final couple of corners through the Casio triangle. Harry Banks leading the way, though. Isotopic in second. Really hoping that you are enjoying this race. If you are, and if you are enjoying my slight rant, slight commentary tonight, like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell if you are, of course. I could care less about your 6 points, maybe be mad about your teammates' way of racing instead. Yeah, to be honest, that is true. Obviously, everyone has got to drive fair out on track. And even with 14 drivers, you would imagine that the driving standards would be good. However, we have had driving standards issues across all tiers this season in TTML. That is not a lie, that is not... it is just a fact. It is a pure given fact. And if you see, in terms of the steward reports, how many steward reports there's been across the season, you'll understand why the driving standards have been so poor so far in all divisions across the board. Harry Banks still leading the way. Isotopic in second. Closest battle currently out on track, 7/10 of a second. The McLaren on the back of the Red Bull. And the Red Bull currently under pressure. However, as I say, that exploit, we are beginning to see maybe the first sign of pit stops beginning to come. Kazizel has dropped out now 6 seconds. I think if I was Kazizel, I'd be putting in this lap to try and get an undercut, a significant undercut on 11 laps. And actually, Harry Banks reacts. So Harry Banks is in. Isotopic just about fooled him in as well. So everyone now beginning to react. Is Kazizel coming in? No. Kazizel goes, and this is now the time where Kazizel can produce an absolute godly overcut to try and get this win of the race. He's obviously going on to a lap fresher, set of soft compound tyres at this stage. If he stays out longer, he's going to be more laps fresher than everyone out on track. Then Harry Banks and Isotopic, the noisy, out on track. Wedge and Break FM, by the way, 8th and 9th position. Wedge is now into the pit lane. Noisy also came into the pits as a result of that. And Break FN down there in 9th position. Kazizel, though, leading the way. Jorgen second. This is not looking too bad in terms of my prediction, by the way. Harry Banks is there in front. If Isotopic just gets out of the way, maybe slightly, not to say he'll spin or anything, but I'm hoping for my prediction anyways. It's Harry Banks, Kazizel, and Jorg. How dare I wish that on a drive? I'm really sorry, Isotopic, if you listen to this later on in the night. But Kazizel leading the way. Jorgen second, and we'll actually see where everyone has came out on that sort of soft compound tyre. And Harry Banks has came out in 5th, so Simply Superman, who was 3rd at one stage in the race, is 3.7 seconds inferior to Harry Banks, really out on track. And that's Simply Superman spinning, cost him 15 seconds, I would say, at least. At least, and he just hasn't had the pace to live it up after that spin. He hasn't got into his rhythm. However, are we going to see Kazizel, Jorg, Frankie Fro and Simply Superman now respond this lap? Yep, Kazizel is coming in. Jorg is going to come in as well. So they're both in. Frankie Fro stays out another lap because of his teammate pitting in front of him. So Kazizel is in. Frankie Fro is in. And we'll see. Now dipping down into the pit boxes there. Very weird pit boxes, I've got to be honest. Simply Superman has gone past and Harry Banks already through. Kazizel is probably going to be about 6 or 7 seconds down, I think, coming out the pit lane. Maybe even more than that, possibly, as Kazizel now comes out the pit lane. And the gap is probably going to be about 7 seconds coming out the pit lane. So Kazizel now has got to hope, really, ideally, that Harry Banks and Isotopic either get batting so aggressively out on track that it costs them 7 seconds, or their tyres are to go off towards the end of the race. And I think that's what Kazizel's relying on more than Isotopic and Harry Banks at this stage of this race. Harry Banks though leading the way. Isotopic currently in 4th, and for net lead I should say this is. Isotopic on the back of Harry Banks, but again, not close enough in towards the hairpin. And it has been, by F1 standards, by TTML standards, certainly this season, one of the most dullest races I think I've seen so far in TTML F1. 2 VSCs, I think, were the best part so far of this race. However, we could have a really good battle for the lead of the race beginning to develop, as Isotopic now has just got to get a little bit of a wriggle onto the back of Harry Banks. 7/10 of a second running down the straight, and again, driven within the toe. He looks stronger now, coming through 130R, and now this set of soft compound tyre, what could define the Norwegian out on track, the Brit currently. But again, Isotopic up to his old tricks. He just degrades that speed away mid-corner, and Harry Banks utilised that to good effect. He's already 7/10 clear as Harry Banks sets the new fastest lap on the race. Simply Superman, by the way, is still continuing on as that man there, Frankie Fro, is into the pit lane. Where is Frankie Fro going to come out with regards to Noisy and Jorg? I think he's going to be well behind Noisy actually coming out the pit lane. Probably around 2 seconds, 3 seconds maybe coming out the pit lane. And yeah, it's going to be about 2 seconds coming out the pits for Frankie Fro in regards to Noisy. Isotopic, however, still trying to pressurise Harry Banks. We are pretty much 8 laps from the end of the race, excluding this lap. Pretty much 8 laps away from the end. And Simply Superman currently holding his own, but you can see, on that sort of soft compound tyre, Harry Banks and Isotopic must be 2.5 seconds quicker than Simply Superman. And if he's not into the pit lane in this lap, he's just going to be eaten up like fish and chips on a Friday night here in the UK. The Irishman under pressure though from Harry Banks, and Harry Banks is getting 0.5 of a second alone coming through the hairpin. The softs are the tyre to be on at this stage of the race. It doesn't look like we're going to get any rain towards the end either. But again, just on the exit of the spoon curve, Harry Banks now beginning to put the throttle down, and Isotopic's just being a little bit cautious maybe with the DRS. He's got a very good straight line speed up, as Harry Banks actually got caught on the curb there, coming through 130R. And Simply Superman is staying out as he nearly ran toward the pit wall there, but Simply Superman now across the line. On to lap 20 we go. Now 8 laps to go. Harry Banks, Isotopic now getting into the back. But what will the Alfa Romeo do? Ideally, for Kazizel's perspective, as he set the new fastest lap of the race, and he'll see that, Simply Superman, he will see that from his perspective, he has got to hold up these guys, maybe 2 seconds of this lap, if Kazizel has got any sort of chance of actually winning this race. And you never know, as Simply Superman runs out wide there, Harry Banks and Isotopic now have got to get this move done sooner rather than later, because they've got essentially traffic in the way. And you can see Kazizel with fresher, cleaner air out on track. He's getting 3, 4, 5 of a second this lap so far. Obviously not enough. It's actually now 7, 8 of a second. So Kazizel really beginning to eat into that gap, and it's all because you've got a set a guy on a set of medium compound tyres out there on track, currently leading the race, and that is why Harry Banks and Isotopic now are in the dirty air, and this is why they're going to struggle towards the end of the race. Overwearing their tyres behind pretty much a bit of a traffic jam is not the greatest scenario to be in whatsoever. And you can see the Irishman just trying to break out the toe and trying to bring Harry Banks out of that toe with him. But look, they're just glued, literally as one, into the Casio triangle. Simply Superman leads the way. Is he into the pit lane in this lap? No! Simply Superman stays out once again, and Harry Banks now uses his exploit to try and break the toe desperately to Simply Superman, but it might not be enough. Here comes Harry Banks to the outside line at turn 1. Is Isotopic going to follow through with this? Lovely move by Harry Banks. We caught the end of that. Harry Banks is through, and he's into the lead of the race, and now he's put a car between himself and Isotopic. And this is exactly what Harry Banks would have wanted. This is not by any means what Isotopic would have wanted. And look at how much time he's losing. Kazizel is going to be 5 seconds behind, maybe halfway through this lap. And it is going to be about 5 seconds. Isotopic is just struggling behind Simply Superman, catches the curb as well through Declan 2. And the Irishman now, I think, has pretty much given the win to Harry Banks. I cannot see Isotopic, as we see Simply Superman getting a little bit caught, because Kazizel 5 seconds behind. Isotopic has just got to go for broke at this stage, and towards spoon curve, a very rare move. You normally see this. Simply Superman nearly pushes him off track, and this is why driving standards are looked at here in TTML. And an Isotopic sending for a spin, and that was all caused, you could argue, by Simply Superman moving across track, Isotopic picking up grass, retiring out on track, and that is a retirement that I'm not going to argue with. That is a well-driven, I think, retirement out on track, because he is probably so frustrated at this stage he doesn't want to continue on at all with this race. And frankly, that was stupid. Simply Superman, if you're watching this back later on, I just called that live on stream, you should be ashamed of yourself. Quite literally, you should be ashamed of yourself. Driving like that belongs in tier 5, not tier 1. Harry Banks leading the way though, Simply Superman in second, and that just ruins the fun really. And what could have been a really good battle between Isotopic and Harry Banks. And it just really comes to show that driving standards have fallen way short again here tonight in TTML F1, the top tier. Imagine if F5 guys are watching this. Imagine if F4 guys are watching this. These are your role models. Role models? Really? begs the question. Harry Banks a little leading the way. He's pretty much got this race, I think, wrapped up between himself. We will focus, however, on a battle that is hopefully going to be a lot cleaner than what we've just seen. Nosy and Frankie Fro, 5th and 6th position. 6 retirements currently in this race. It has become a bit of a war of attrition out on track. Frankie Fro, he's got 2 lap pressure tyres and Noisy, and this is why I want to pick up this battle now, because Frankie Fro, he literally just runs wide as soon as that dips out of that at the DRS range of a second, and Noisy currently looking quite good. Frankie Fro, however, losing his speed, losing his time down the straight. He's got to save up that ERS, and actually he's just taken it down now to 0% of ERS. He's got to save that up because he's going to be derating down the straight even before, and he's only got 8% to use up. He's going to be derating now down the straight. At the start of the straight, he's really going to be degrading now. The DRS is going to carry him maybe to within 9/10, but it's not even worth using up any ERS just for that, because it's not needed, to be honest, to use up on the back of Noisy. Noisy there in 5th position, Frankie Fro there in 6th, Break FN in 7th, and Wedge there in 8th position. Menno is really not happy with Simply Superman's driving. I am not happy at all with the standards of racing that we have seen tonight, and to be honest, it all spawns from a bad attendance, and it all spans from bad driving. Simple as that, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1, and it's Wedge. Wedge ran through turn 2, got caught in the curb I think on the inside, and now Wedge just ran through turn 2. Managed to keep the car going, and to be honest, Wedge and Break FN have done a sterling job. Wedge especially, he's been so far out of his comfort zone here in Japan, he's still going. And look how many points he's going to be picking up as a result. He's going to be picking up, I think, 12 points in terms of the point system, which I think, for any driver, you would just dream of picking up 12 points, to be honest. And, frankly, as I say, driving should be a lot better in F1. We had a really good race last week in Belgium. Really good race last week in Belgium. Simply Superman now into the pit lane from 2nd. He's going to be all the way down in 6th, possibly. It's Frankie Fro on the back of Noisy. Has managed to save a little bit more ERS, only 3% more this time around. And this time he doesn't use up any DRS, any ERS I should say, from the straight. And look at the difference that makes. He now gets within 3.5 of Noisy. So using up ERS really, although it might be good, for somebody that's derating down the straight, it's not that great. And now the Australian on the back as Kazizel has spun. Kazizel has spun, coming through turn 5, and now this picks up the drama personified because Noisy is now through and he's into 4th, and now the 2 Ferraris are going side by side, and Kazizel forces Frankie Fro off track, and Frankie Fro spins, and again, more care, more attention has got to be given. Frankie Fro has reset to track. I think that's illegal as well within the rules, but again, another battle ruined, completely and utterly ruined. This race has now become a washing line, quite literally. Harry Banks leads the way. Jorgen 2nd, Noisy in 3rd, Kazizel in 4th. Kazizel's mistake was his own doing. That second part was his own doing as well, and there's no excuses with that. Kazizel in 4th, Frankie Fro now down to 5th, and Frankie Fro could have possibly even had 5th position. He possibly could have had 4th there. And I think he's got a little bit of damage possibly on that end plate as well, with contact. Left side end plate damage, I think, on the car. Harry Banks leading the way, Jorgen 2nd, Noisy in 3rd, 3 laps to go of probably what has been the worst race of TTML F1 this season, and I do not lie on my commentaries, and if you think it has not been the worst race, then go and watch every race back and tell me next week of what you made of it, because honestly, this is not fun to commentate on. This is not fun to even warrant these guys, or some of these guys, airtime. The likes of Harry Banks, the likes of Jorg, the likes of Noisy have done an absolute sterling job tonight. They've been clean. They've been really clean. Noisy a little bit, yeah. In the first few laps of the race, wasn't that great from his perspective, but there were just little errors. He's got into his rhythm, and now he's beginning to pick it back up. And Noisy, it just shows what consistency can do around a track like Japan. He's been really consistent in the second half of the race, and that really begs the question, are these guys consistent enough? And I think some of them are. Some of them definitely are. Japan, of course, may be proving, as Frankie Fro is going to let through Simply Superman, and that's a little bit boring. Simply Superman now through, he's into 5th. Frankie Fro there down in 6th position as well. And Simply Superman now through, he's into 5th position. Could have had a fight there, to be honest. A fight that we got robbed with, I think, by the Australian. But Simply Superman in 5th. Frankie Throw in 6th. Harry Banks, however, we may as well just ride a ball with him for the final 2 laps of the race, but we won't, because Cazzizzle, I can see, is catching Noisy on the left-hand side. A second now, the gap. Harry Banks, though, onto the penultimate lap of the race, leads, and it has been, literally, he hasn't seen anyone else. Apart from Isotopic behind him, he hasn't seen anybody else this race. And frankly, it's been an absolute dominant lights to flag victory. He hasn't lost any positions, he hasn't gained any positions. And that just comes to show what the nature of a really, really good driver actually is. Harry Banks currently leading the way, York there in 2nd position, Noisy in 3rd, and we're on board. Cazzizzle just getting caught on the inside curve there, but Cazzizzle looks strong in terms of his setup. It just hasn't worked for him here tonight. Obviously, Stewart's investigations will happen as a result of the appalling driving I think we've seen so far tonight. And frankly, well, thank God it's the final lap and a half. Cazzizzle on the back of Noisy though, and let's hope Cazzizzle will be able to provide some good action here, because Noisy is under pressure. He can feel it, he's under pressure himself, and Cazzizzle is on the back trying to relinquish and trying to put Noisy into a bit of full censored really out on track, and really try and drive home that Noisy could make a mistake and Cazzizzle could be on for the podium, even with maybe a steward's investigation going over. But Harry Banks leading the way, Jorgen 2nd, Noisy in 3rd, Cazzizzle in 4th, Simply Superman in 5th, Frankie Throw in 6th, Break FN in 7th, and Wedge there down in 8th position. And Cazzizzle now onto the back, the Brit on the back of the Dutchman, and the Dutchman's done an absolute sterling job. Like his teammate York, he's done a really sterling job tonight. And Noisy has came his own in the final couple of laps, but now he's got pressure. He has got pressure from Cazzizzle. This is the only real chance he's got of trying to make an inroad down in towards turn number 1. He's got that DRS in usage. ERS I don't think was really used down the straight, and Cazzizzle now still in behind Noisy, and we're just going to try and take you on board with as many camera angles as possible. As Isotopic has now left the session. Do thank him though for attending, however frustrating of course his performance might have been, and especially with what Simply Superman did earlier on in the race. Harry Banks still leading the way. He can just cruise it from here on in. Jorgen Noisy going to be happy in the Aston Martin 2nd and 3rd position at this stage. Cazzizzle there in 4th. However, Cazzizzle now on the back of Noisy. He can feel that something is under the water. He can now feel that Noisy is under sustained pressure. We just had a little bit of lag there from Cazzizzle. But Noisy on the back of Cazzizzle I should say, on the back of him. It's going to come down, possibly to the final corner, maybe through 130R into the Casio Triangle. By the time they get there though, Harry Banks might be finished this race. Harry Banks though, now down in towards 130R for the final time. We'll try and get on board with Cazzizzle if he's close enough to the back of Noisy, and I think he might be running down in towards 130R. Could have run out of time, I think. Harry Banks, though, through the final corner, through the Casio Triangle for the final time. He deserves this race when he defends his championship lead as well. Harry Banks to the line wins. Cazzizzle down the inside line into the Casio Triangle. Had to send it. Sending it absolutely failed. And Noisy will pick up 3rd as a result. Jorgen 2nd, Noisy in 3rd. Cazzizzle, really not his race tonight. He's going to be looking up on himself and looking at the stream back thinking, what could have I done better? A loss. Cazzizzle in 4th, Simply Superman in 5th, with Frankie Throw coming across the line to finish in 6th. Break FN coming across the line to finish in 7th. As Wedge will come across the line to finish in 8th. Sorry, I had to pause that. I thought I was going to sneeze live on stream. That would have been so unprofessional. Wedge now down in P8, 21 seconds behind. But Wedge, give him credit. He spun early on. He was right down the back of the field. He hasn't seen another car this race, apart from those that have retired around him. Wedge comes across the line to finish in 8th position and picks up a minimum of 12 points. And to be honest, he's my driver of the day for even continuing in this race. Fantastic drive, though, by Cazzizzle gets awarded the driver of the day. I'm going to disagree with that entirely, but great racing, of course, out on track. Well, could you call it great racing? I don't know. Japanese Grand Prix, though, has ended. Harry Banks, though, has taken the win. He is going to be my driver of the day. I think he drove an absolute solid race. And I've actually got a prediction right. I've got Harry Banks winning a race. Yeah. I'm proud. I'm very proud. Probably the proudest moment you will ever see on the stream tonight. But Harry Banks has taken the win. The Aston Martins drove solidly as well. Jorgen Noisy second and third. They drove solidly, especially consistent, I think, from both of them in the second half of the race. Harry Banks though wins. He completes the Grand Slam at pole position. Not the fastest lap, but the win as a result. So Harry Banks has won, Jorgen second, Noisy in third, Kazizel in fourth, Simply Superman in fifth, Frankie Fro in sixth, Break FN in seventh, Wedge across the line in eighth. Those are the only 8 finishes here in TTML F1. Isotopic, obviously, no fault of his own why he retired out of the race. Obviously that incident will get investigated and there'll probably be a penalty for one of the drivers at least. Tom in 10th, Machio in 11th had force feedback issues, so we can excuse him. Kildare down in 12th, Volakongan in 13th, and Hazara down in 14th. Didn't even last a lap, did Hazara, down in 6th position from the get-go, down in 14th by the end of the race. And easily, those 14 could have finished if they were bothered to even finish the race here in TTML F1. But as I say, really hope you enjoy the evening. F4 tonight, F4 and F5, of course, tomorrow night. F4 is, of course, Storm and Conti taking you through the action. I'm having a night off, and thank God I'm having a night off, to be honest, after this race. At F5, of course, it is Buck and Pariah scheduled to do it, of course. However, you might see a surprise in the commentary box if Pariah can't do the commentary. But really hope you have enjoyed tonight. If you did, and if you really appreciated my an hour and a half worth of commentary that I've just done, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you are new. I've been James Head. Thank you so much for watching the Japanese Grand Prix, and until next time, goodbye.